Channel Sports Central will be going over 5 reasons why the LSU Tigers will become national champions once again in the 2020 season, and how they're going to bring a second straight national title to LSU. But once again, these will be 5 reasons, and they will be in no particular order. So with all that being said, let's look at your number 1, and it's going to be the experience for this LSU team. And as you know, they do have a moderate amount of losses. They do lose Joe Burrow, of course. He was a major player for this team last season, and he's certainly going to have a very bright future in the NFL, in my opinion. But they also lose their top running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and yeah, they do have a couple of really tough losses for sure, but they still have players who experienced the 2019 national championship season. And as you know, I've said this before, typically you'll see, for example, the past decade, with Alabama, they've been a dynasty over the past decade, and they've won however many national championships. And yeah, for Alabama, of course, it all started with one national championship, and then after a couple of years, another one came. And yeah, it's all about the experience. And I think for LSU, could this start a dynasty for them? For sure it could, but yeah, they do return most of their wide receivers as well, so it's not like they're losing their entire team this offseason, but they also have a really good defensive line heading into 2020, and they also return the majority of their secondary. So yeah, they've got tons of depth at many positions, so that's going to be a huge part for LSU heading into 2020, in my opinion, especially with the recruiting. This recruiting class is really looking good for LSU heading into 2020, so that's going to be a big part of it. And yeah, we'll get into more about the recruiting in a couple of minutes, but yeah, for sure, once again, for LSU, I think the future is very bright for this team, and I think they've got a ton of potential to make yet another national championship run. And once again, it's all about the experience. Having those players that already experienced a national championship and already won one, they certainly will have that in their bag. So certainly for LSU, I think they've got a lot of experience there. Moving on to number 2, we got the defensive line for LSU, and many have ranked this LSU defensive line as the top 10 best in the FBS. That was of last season, and as you know, LSU had a great defensive line last season. It was a big bright point for this defense, and certainly they are losing 2 starters from last season, but they do have a great recruiting class once again to add back some depth. So yeah, certainly for LSU, having depth is a huge part of having a good defense, and certainly for LSU, they are going to have that in 2020. So yeah, they shouldn't really have to worry about that a whole lot. Of course, losing the 2 starters once again, that is a bit of a concern, but in the end, yeah, some notable names would include BJ, Jacqueline, and Jacobian, and yeah, all 3 of those guys certainly will be competing for a starting spot next season on this defensive line. And I certainly think, yeah, the future looks really bright for this defensive line. Once again, we'll get into more on the recruiting in a little bit. But yeah, certainly they've got a lot of great players coming in, and also the players who have already experienced once again the championship season from last season certainly should be great leaders for this defensive line, and I think that'll be really good for this defensive line to have for sure. Moving on to number 3, we got Myles Brennan, and you may be confused as to why he's on this list, but he has had the time to learn from Joe Burrow over the past couple of seasons. As you know, Joe Burrow has really exceeded everyone's expectations. He put up insane stats last season. He had over 6,000 yards of offense, as well as 60 touchdowns. So yeah, certainly, he was an insanely good quarterback, and I think he's going to have a very bright career in the NFL. But yeah, he's been able to kind of lead Myles Brennan in the right direction. I think Myles Brennan is going to have a good season. I think he's got potential to surprise a lot of people. He doesn't have much playing experience at all in college. He's hardly put up any yards so far because he's been backing up Joe Burrow, but yeah, I think Myles Brennan for sure. He's got a ton of potential, and also the thing is that he could be a huge surprise this season. He's going to surprise either way, no matter whether he's good or whether he's bad, because no one's really seen him play. No one really knows how good Myles Brennan is. So yeah, certainly he could surprise a lot of people, and I expect him to be really good. I think once again, being under Joe. Next up, we got the recruiting for LSU. Now, as you know, I've talked about this a little bit the last couple of minutes, and they've got a 4th-ranked 2020 recruiting class by 24/7 Sports. Their average recruit rating heading into 2020 is a .928. So yeah, certainly for LSU, they've got a really high recruit rating, and that's going to be huge heading into 2020. A few notable names would be tight end Eric Gilbert. I'm sure he's got a very bright future if he can stay healthy. He's a 5-star. He's got a .997, which is absolutely insane. That is almost as high as a rating as you can get. They also have defensive back Elias Ricks. He's also got an extremely high rating. He's a 5-star. He's got a .993. Wide receiver Keyshawn Butte. He's a 5-star as well, .989. So yeah, they're especially since they're losing a wide receiver, one of their top wide receivers, it's going to be big for them to get a receiver back. And yeah, Keyshawn Butte's going to be exactly that. I think he'll have a really bright future with LSU. And they also get defensive end Jacqueline Roy. We talked about him a couple minutes ago. For that defensive line, he's a 4-star, .981. They also get a new linebacker, Philip Webb, also a 4-star, and .973. So these are your 5 most highly rated recruits coming into the 2020 season for LSU. Once again, tight end Eric Gilbert's going to be a huge name for that. Certainly you'll be seeing him getting a lot of action next season with him being as high of a rated of player as he is. I mean, he's got a ton of talent for sure, and I think he's got a ton of potential heading into 2020. Nonetheless, moving on to your number 5, it's going to be the secondary depth for LSU. And the only losses in the secondary include Christian Fulton and Grant Delpit. Both of those guys are expected to be first or second rounders in this upcoming NFL draft. So, those will be 2 tough losses there. But, I think, honestly, looking at the secondary depth and also who they got coming in, once again, we mentioned, Elias Ricks coming in. He's a really good 4-star recruit. Or actually, he's a 5-star, and they've got a couple of other 4-star recruits coming in to help the secondary out. So, Christian Fulton and Grant Delpit will be tough losses, but, once again, they got a couple of really good recruits coming in to replace their positions. So I think that this LSU team will be just fine in the secondary. And once again, this defense was extremely strong in the secondary last season. I mean, they were one of the best secondaries in the entire nation last season for that matter. So, certainly for LSU, I think they'll be just fine in the secondary. I think that for sure this will be a big, strong spot for them next season. I'm even going to go as far to say that, especially once again with the recruits coming in and also the experience from last season. And once again, I know you're losing a couple of future NFL stars, but certainly for LSU, I think this team, once again, it all goes down to the depth, and I think LSU's got that. So, with all that being said, that about wraps up your 5 reasons why the LSU Tigers will be defending national champions next season. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this, as well as your thoughts on LSU. Thank you all for watching once again. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I will see you all later.